Hi, welcome to our channel True Up. Okay, everyone who is watching the video. I want to share a Chinese chip story with you today that I'm sure you've never heard before. It is sad and perhaps even somewhat negative, but just like every coin has two sides, it also has a positive side. Please continue to the very end. We may observe from Russia that the seemingly insignificant chip is actually connected to the heated war and the sanctions, and has grown to be a significant weight in the game of great powers. China is more reliant on processors and foreign semiconductors than Russia is, though. There are 1.6 billion people living in China. But do you realize how much money each person spends year on chip imports? The answer is astounding 2,000 yuan, which is considerably higher than the average monthly wage in some regions of China. China's import and export data for 2021 indicate that the country will have a trade surplus of $676.43 billion, which will be a record high since records have been kept in 1950. We cannot disregard yet another piece of information, though. China will import 635.48 billion chips in total in 2021, a rise of 16.9%, with an estimated import value of almost $432.6 billion. As a result, each Chinese citizen will pay 2,000 yuan annually on average to buy chips. In other words, the quantity of imported chips is equal to 63.95% of the surplus for the country. In other words, 2 of every 3 yuan that a Chinese person makes must go into importing chips. Please turn on the notification bell and subscribe to our channel before we begin today's video. Okay, so in today's video, we'll discuss the real-life tale of China's chips. In order to fill countless ocean-going freighters and exhaust the foreign trade quotas of these respective industries, thousands of Chinese production line workers and farmers toil day in and day out in steel mills, oil refineries, rare earth mines, textile workshops, and farmland in order to exchange for equivalent chips. Even though there is exactly the same quantity of trade, the two profit margins are very different. In fiscal 2021, Intel's gross profit margin will be 55.4%, while TSMC's gross profit margin will be greater than 50%. What about Chinese financial success? According to data from January to October 2021, Chinese textile enterprises achieved an operational income of 4.14 trillion yuan, total profit of 198.3 billion yuan, profit margin of 4.79%, and total profit of 351.7 billion yuan, the best level in history, with a profit margin of 5.55%. For the steel industry. What's worse, in addition to these costs, Chinese must support a huge number of power plants, sewage plants, and other ancillary infrastructure in order to support these businesses with high energy consumption, high pollution, and little added value. China has suffered significantly throughout the supply chain. Hundreds of millions of workers must be organized in order to sustain this system. As the world's factory, China promises to reach the carbon peak in 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality in 2060. China has to compress a lot of industrial and even household electricity as a result. At the same time, it must pay retaliatory import duties as a result of the huge trade surplus on paper. From this vantage point, China's enormous trade surplus actually comprises a sizable value deficit. However, the reality of China's chip imports is that China imports the vast bulk of these chips on behalf of the entire world. 220 million computers and 950 million smartphones were exported from China in 2021. China uses 60% of the chips it imports in its exporting electronic goods. Huge Chinese electronics industry will be on guard if the supply is cut off. Today's chip story comes from China. Chinese companies must perform well in the chip sector. It concerns the supply chain security as well as the rivalry between major nations. Additionally, it concerns the people who toil daily near mines, chemical factories, and clothes factories. We cannot reverse this enormous value deficit, much alone the enormous import statistics, until we recognize the independent control of the integrated circuit industry. Chips are heavily invaded into all facets of manufacturing in addition to conventional electronic devices. All items are chasing increasingly advanced functionalities as intelligence and automation become more commonplace. Many items that weren't originally related to chips are now utilized to provide value, such as pillows that can alter sleep quality, cooking pots, and other items. In order to add more features to products that previously only utilized a few chips, such as refrigerators that analyze food nutrition and self-driving cars that operate like mobile phones on the road, more chips are now being employed in those products. As a result, the Chinese manufacturing sector has actually entered an era where chips are used for everything. Chips now completely rule the sector. Let's examine the state of the domestic chip market. Domestic chips are those created by Chinese businesses and produced there. According to information on the chip design sector in China as of the end of 2021, a sizable percentage of the products are produced by overseas firms. Even if they are all regarded as coming from China, domestic production of chips in 2021 will only account for $47.603 trillion or 11% of imports. And all premium chips are wholly dependent on imports. Although the American manufacturing sector has been said to be shrinking in recent years, the country has not eased up at all in the high-margin manufacturing sectors of computers, mobile phones, computers, and other high-tech products, particularly the chip industry, which has a gross profit margin of more than 50%. Half of the world's output value comes from the United States. The story of Chinese chips is too bleak and gloomy based just on the prior statistics. Fortunately, the story has a second side. China continues to serve as the world's primary producer of electrical devices, despite the word assembly appearing in front of its exports. Data indicate that China will have assembled 35% of the world's electrical goods in 2020. The national electronic information manufacturing industry will rank 6th among 41 key industries in 2021 in terms of added value, up 15.7% from the year before, and the growth rate will reach a new high in the preceding 10 years. The two-year average growth rate was 11.6%, which was 5.5 percentage points greater than the industrial added value's two-year average growth rate. The Chinese high-tech electronic industry has accelerated. Many international electrical companies have been created locally using established supplier chains when assembling Apple. Local chip makers continue to diversify into high-value semiconductors, propelled by these terminal brands and technological firms. China will produce more integrated circuits in 2021 than the previous year, up 33.3%. According to research, the global market share of chips produced and sold in China would increase from 3.8% in 2010 to 9% in 2020. We must properly manage our relationship with the global supply chain while the dawn of rapid expansion is emerging. China suffers greatly from the complicated and brutal present semiconductor market. Chinese volume, however, is a crucial component of world trade, so they shouldn't feel oppressed. Chinese people should learn how to play by the rules to their advantage. Thanks for watching our video. We would appreciate it if you subscribed our channel and gave us a thumb. See you.